There you go.
Testing. Oh, now we're working.
Yeah, turn me down a little bit. That's everybody tells me that all the time. They look, they can't find the switch. They try the ears, it doesn't work.
Well, folks, you've tuned into Funny Talk with Mangelli and Max. I'm Tom Mangelli.
I'm Doug Max.
And we're broadcasting live from Hamilton Radio in beautiful downtown Robbinsville, New Jersey. And tonight's guest, we have a special friend of ours. His name is Chip Amboriogio. He is a comic, a comedy writer, a comedy instructor, etc., etc.
And yes, he actually was our comedy instructor. Tom and I met through Chip's class.
I can't hear you in my headset.
Oh, well were you guys getting even because I told you to turn off his microphone? No. Is there any reason for me to be on here if people can't hear me? He can't hear me.
And I'm sitting next to you.
Yeah, he's sitting next to me and he can't hear me. What do you think the people in Ethiopia are going to be able to hear? Can you hear me? And now my headphones are almost flat. I want them turned up.
I can hear me. I can't hear him through my headset.
Now I can hear him.
Anyway.
Yeah.
In case you haven't learned by now, we are technologically...
We're comedians. This is where we made all that
challenged.
We made all that stuff up for your entertainment. You're welcome.
But I'm noticing we have a couple of people that are tuning in already. Jack Hoffman of J. Irwin Productions. If you want a kick-ass comedy show, call J. Irwin Productions. They'll fix it up for you. And also we have another ex-student through Chip is John August is watching. You know John August?
I know him. I did not take a class with him.
I took a writing class with him through Chip.
I did not do that.
I know that.
Hey.
It shows
I can hear you.
So anyway, hi Jack. Don't say that at the airport.
So we should say Jack has a wonderful show coming up Saturday, December 1 at 9 p.m. At the Bicycle Club.
That's in Fort Lee.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's okay. With Rob Falcone, Rated G, and Jackie Byrne. And if you don't know these comics, you should get to know them.
I've worked with both of them. They're both very funny.
There were 3 of them.
And Rob Falcone ate my chili that I brought to a function that we both performed at, and he liked my chili.
Off of your plate, or you brought a community?
I brought a whole bowl of chili.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I ask because whenever I eat around you, I always kind of keep an eye on my food.
It's a good thing to do.
Speaking of which, we had a wonderful dinner tonight at Villa Barone. We should really ask them to be our sponsor because we've spent more money with them than we've made probably in our entire comedy career.
That's true. Just tonight, in fact.
Yeah, well, maybe we can ask Chip for tricks on what we can do to actually make the money in the business. You know, bring in the big bucks.
That's a good point.
You know?
If you wear a hat, you can cover it up. But anyway, Jack makes a valid comment on our Facebook page, Funny Talk with Mangelli and Max. He says, Chip is an icon of comedy. And that kind of sums it up.
Well, his more salient point is, we hear both of you.
Yes, that's a good point, too.
Yes.
Right.
So Chip is an icon. An icon.
Is that like an iPhone?
I don't know. I'm thinking of like a hood ornament for some reason.
Really?
You know, like Winged Victory was the icon of the Rolls Royce. So I'm seeing Chip with his arms outstretched, leading comedy onward.
Mm-hmm.
Look where he's led us. And we're still going to let him on the show.
I forgive him.
I mostly do. Chip is a wonderful guy. I love his comedy. I love him as a person. Everything I've learned about comedy, I learned from him.
I went on my
That's my excuse.
I went on my first road gig with Chip.
Where did you go?
He brought me to a place called Poconuts in the Poconos.
I've heard of that.
Poconuts Comedy Club.
Yeah.
I was emceeing. Chip featured, and the headliner was I forgot his name again. DeMeo. What's his name?
The lettuce?
Not the lettuce. That's
The lime?
DeMeo.
The lettuce?
Mark DeMeo.
Is there somebody on the phone for us?
Who's on the phone? Oh.
I'm afraid it's Chip, and we were talking about him. Maybe
Welcome to Funny Talk. Who may ask is calling? Hello? Are you there?
Did you
Caller?
Did you? Hello. Hello. Chip, I
Hello?
heard your voice.
Yeah.
We know you're there.
Okay.
Okay. Well, you're here,
W-
and we're very excited.
Welcome to Funny Talk, Chip.
Oh,
You're on the air. Hello.
He makes a wonderful radio guest.
Yeah.
You know?
He doesn't talk
He
much.
gives us a
hey,
lot of time.
Tom and Doug.
Can you hear us? We can't hear you.
Okay.
Hello?
Well, Doc, what's going on? I can hear Chip. I don't know if he can hear us.
Hey, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Now we can hear you.
Okay. Okay. Well, welcome, guys. I'm dealing with with the technical issues, which is that I'm old and I don't know how to use a computer.
Computer? You're calling in by computer? I thought you were going to call in by phone.
Can you guys hear me?
Chip, we can hear you. Could you maybe
Okay,
try?
yeah,
Could you? Do you have a
can hear you.
toaster you could call in on or something?
I'm sorry?
Could you call in on your toaster?
Hey, can you hear me? We can hear you. Now we can hear you.
Oh.
Okay, Chip, I can hear somebody talking to you saying. Okay, ladies, this is ladies and gentlemen, Funny Talk with Bongelli and Max, and Chip, if he can hear us.
All right, guys, can you hear me?
That's much better. Welcome to the show, Chip.
There. Well, welcome, guys. I'm happy to be on your show. I was listening to you talk about your comedy careers, and I just wanted to call and say I'm going to give you guys your tuition back. But,
It's about
that
time.
makes up for like a month of doing comedy. Chip,
Oh,
you know,
I'm glad-
we both honestly, we both forgive you your sin of wanting to bring us the joy of stand-up comedy. It's given us many laughs, far more laughs than it's given anybody else. You know, listening to us.
Well, no. I've been watching your show, and you guys have come like a long way. Where are you guys, in Doug's basement? What's going on?
Yeah, and you should really not watch us. We're much better on the radio.
We have faces for the radio.
You know what the thing is? Like, you guys are twice as funny with the delay. That's what I like, because if I don't get it the first time, then I don't get it the second time.
And one of the things we learned in class is if a joke doesn't work, go through 3 or 4 times until they either figure it out or they figure out they're idiots.
Or you start a podcast.
Anyway, you know, I will never forget the words that Chip told me that fateful night in comedy class, and it was really transformative for me.
What was that?
He said, Doug, don't do any more jokes about... What did you say, Chip?
Well, I don't know how far we can go on the radio show.
Oh, you can say sex with animals.
Yeah, well,
That was pretty much it. And you know,
don't talk again about like pleasuring your dog.
Chip, since that day,
that was
Chip, my
Yeah.
friend, since those early days when it was an accidental pleasuring. The dog took pleasure. I didn't give it pleasure. He just took pleasure.
Wow.
But since that day, I now have a trio of animal sex stories somehow. I didn't go looking for them. They came for me.
That's usually how it happens, Doug.
Oh,
yeah. So in addition to J. Irwin Productions, is this show also sponsored by PETA?
That's usually what I eat my meat on. A pita.
Okay. All right. So, well, I mean, you know, it's great to see you guys again, especially from a distance. I didn't really actually want to.
Everybody
Yeah, I
wants to
wanted
be a
in
comedian.
studio. I would, but but I had other things going on today. Today was recyclable day in my town.
I'm glad you fit us in to your busy schedule.
I'm looking forward to my rice recycling day. It's tomorrow night. I get to empty out the garage. As an OTCD person, that makes me.
Now,
that
Doug,
makes me
you have to remember
happy.
not to put your father out at the curb this week.
Everybody keeps on asking, like, Doug, come and do a show. Look, you can bring your father. Like, what's he going to say, Yeah.
So guys, what is prepared for me tonight? Because I see you guys are so well scripted.
We're
So
very
what are
well
we gonna talk
prepared.
about tonight?
Well, one thing we want to talk about your upcoming show at the Bicycle Club, I believe, in January, that you must be very excited about. Do you know you have a show?
That's in December.
It's in
December, which
December.
is this Saturday night.
Oh, you have another one. I'm sorry, you have another one, too.
Right.
December 1.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, the big one is this Saturday night because it's a great place, great club. If anyone's seen Rob Falcone, very funny guy. He does a bit about being on The Sopranos, and he's in The Deuce now, if anybody's seen that on HBO, which is great. And Glenn Sellers, Rated G, great comic, great guy. And Jack Byrne, consummate host. And it's going to be a great show. And as you can see on the screen, you can get your tickets by going on brownpaperticket.com. And we'd love to see you guys out there. And I'll continue to shill throughout my whole segment because that's what comics do.
Now, you've also been having successful shows at Tommy Fox's in Bergenfield, right?
Yeah, Tommy Fox's we did about 4 years ago. We started in a small room, and we used to maybe get 2 or 3 people. Now, thanks to marketing and promotion, last show there was damn near 6 people in the place. No, we're getting good crowds there. It's a small room. It's kind of like an intimate, coffee house type of a room. And Tom, you've been there, and Doug, you've been there. And it's a fun little intimate room, and that's what comedy's all about, right? It's coming out and see somebody perform live.
One of my favorite shows ever was doing a show. There were, I think, a dozen comics on the show and 4 audience members. 3 of them were the family of one of the comics. But it was wonderful. We all got to know one another by name. Mm-hmm. If, Sharon didn't laugh, I'm going to call her out by name.
Yeah, well, that's unfortunately, we've all had nights like that in comedy. Like, what is the least number of people that you've performed in front of? And I'm talking comedy, Doug, so I don't want to get into the other stuff.
Yeah.
That's it. That was it.
I had an audience of 2 one time.
Oh, yeah? And how did that go?
Not too well. They were both my bringers. There was a whole show of comics. There were definitely more comics than audience members.
And did they hold you to the end because you were the big bringer, so you had like 2 people?
Yeah.
And they made you hang on till the end. It's like, okay, now we're going to bring up our headliner.
Right.
Nobody leave.
They gave me an extra
jelly,
30
right?
seconds.
What about you, Chip? Did you ever have a show with, 2 to 5 people or whatever? Ever? Did you have to suffer through that?
I performed in front of one drunk one time at Stand Up New York, and it was my uncle. It was we used to have to go down into the basement and make phone calls to get people to come into the clubs, and that's that's what we did. And then they would call you up at like 2:00 in the morning and say, "Okay, you can do your spot now," and you do 6 minutes, and there would be like one guy in the room.
So at least you got a photo of you at stand up. Did you leverage that, big time? Did that do you any good?
Well, if I didn't have that to put in my promo packet, I wouldn't be on this show now.
You know something? I did Gotham. It was my 4th show. I didn't know I was supposed to get a photo. I never got a photo of proof that I was there.
Maybe you're a vampire.
Yeah, maybe. They say that.
Yeah.
No. Anyway, so
I was going to say, go ahead, Doug.
Well, I was going to ask you a question, but if you were going to say something, that'll save us all the trouble of me asking you what I was going to ask you.
No, that's right. I was just looking for my dog. I just wanted to make sure he was here.
You might find a ransom note by Doug.
Can you hear that whistle? No, you can't. You know why? It's my dog whistle. So, Chip, you've been teaching comedy for many, many years. So, in those years, if I challenged you to come up with like 2 or 3 of the favorite lessons that you've taught that you think are just packaged and seem to work well for any idiot aspiring to be any person aspiring to be a stand-up comedian, anything come to mind?
Well, number one is write. You always have to write because
Shit.
like you always got to have new material. I mean, some people are not writer comics. Some people are performer comics. But I would say number one is you got to write every single day.
Yeah, I need a lot of material because I make my own clothes.
Oh, don't laugh at that.
Like that.
Don't laugh at that. I'll hit him for you.
That was his attempt at writing. So I'm laughing.
Okay.
And
okay.
that could go into the act, right?
We'll
That could go into the act, Tom, right?
Actually, that I wrote that during our class 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever.
Look how far he's progressed.
It's just that, yeah. Just that then you've tweaked it, and look where we are now. And number two would be you need stage time. You have to be up. You have to be in front of people all the time because it's gold, and that's how you create. You write, you get on stage, and when you mix what you've written with creating stuff in the moment, that's how you get an act.
Yep. Now, Chip, comment on this. Something that I noticed when I first started in the business, I was always writing. I was always adding new jokes into the act, and no 2 acts were alike. Now, I've kind of got like my shtick down pat and the inflections and the timing and this and that. And it seems like it's very stale at this point to me because I'm not changing it up as much because I'm afraid of messing it up.
Yeah. Well, that happens a lot because it was like Louis C.K. said, I had the same crappy act, for 15 years. And what happens is I think you reach a point like you're feeling right now where you say to yourself, I got to change. I have to be excited about the act. So you either start writing or you start changing things up on stage. And it's not going to be perfect all the time. You're going to have growing pains, but that's how the great comics develop.
So is that why you wanted to meet me at the Garden Center beforehand, Tom?
The Garden Center.
Never mind.
I don't always
get... What? I was going to say the non-sequiturs is what makes this show.
Something makes the show.
Yeah, something does. We'll find it.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be out there somewhere.
Well, something that's going to force me to write new material is I'm on a crusade to lose weight. I've lost about 50 pounds since I started comedy.
Did you really?
Yeah, and I've
gained it all back.
No, I've been losing, and I'm hoping to lose a hell of a lot more.
That's an interesting thing, Tom, because I always had this theory that no one that started comedy as being really heavy, in the end ended up being as heavy as they were. Like Roseanne, right? Roseanne, she got thinner.
Right.
John Pignette, no longer with us, but he got thinner.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it ties into you have emotional things you got to get off your chest, or just once you become a comic you can't afford food?
Yeah, well, it's a little of both, I think.
Yeah. The delay is very challenging. I see you guys talking, and I'm trying to time my comments in between. It's kind of like lip reading for the blind.
Okay. Well, you're doing a good job anyway. But,
Thank you, Tom. Thanks.
Yeah, I think we should formalize this comics diet because I think it could work.
That could be like a coffee table book.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I've shared my diet many times because people always come up to me and say, "Doug, you're so old. It's a miracle you're not dead. How do you stay so fit?" And
what do you
my answer is I am on an EAN diet.
Uh-huh.
It's nicotine and caffeine,
uh-huh.
and that's my main nutritional. That's what I take in up until like 2 or 3 when I start getting shaky and realize I haven't eaten. And so all that shaking up to that point, I think I lose extra weight from that too.
Uh-huh.
So I really
Are you-
only eat from like
are you
2 in the
serious?
afternoon to like 6. Chip, look at me. Can you see? Look.
What I'm seeing on the screen is not matching your voice.
Caffeine and nicotine. That's it.
Well,
My son here is like shaking his head.
And
You know,
we'd like to thank our sponsors, Philip Morris.
stop. So your son, is he on now with us, or is he just
Well, he
watching?
can call in.
Yes,
Okay.
we have him.
He's calling in soon.
We have
Okay.
him
He's calling in
scheduled at
soon.
10
My
o'clock.
son is actually doing stand-up now, too. Every generation is a little bit funnier than the one before.
So he's your grandson.
No, I think when we get to my great-great-grandson, we may have somebody that makes it to the Tonight Show.
So, Chip, does McLean, Chip's son, want to be a stand-up comic? Or is
Well,
he
he's
having
doing
fun? or-
stand-up now. He'll be on the phone in a moment, so I guess you
Okay.
can ask him.
And how much of him becoming a comic was him versus you pushing him to do it?
Well, I never pushed him to do it. He decided he wanted to take my class.
Okay.
Yeah, I decided I wanted to take the class. That's my big entrance.
How you doing, McLean? It's McLean Amboriogio.
Good. How are you guys?
Did your dad make you pay for the class? Did you have to mow the
Yeah, he
lawn?
actually made me. He made me pay 21 years of therapy.
Well, it'll just keep on coming. So, McLean, according to your dad, the 3 most important things you should do to be a stand-up comic are write, stage time, and create.
No dog jokes.
I have my
No-
new generation 3 rules.
Oh, what is that?
My first rule is don't write, just steal it.
Don't write, steal. Okay, I'm writing that down. What's number 2?
Yeah, and it also helps if you have a father who's been doing it for, I don't know, 16, 17 years. You can steal all that material,
Steal from your father.
repurpose it,
Okay. Repurpose.
and then, I don't know, stay inside, hang out.
Do weed.
Do a show once in a while.
Okay, I'm writing all this down. Okay, well together the two of you sound like if you put together both of your philosophies, you'd be nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Right.
really easy to find a good middle ground.
Write, don't write, steal.
You know, McLean, you have the advantage of having a father who's supportive in your pursuit. First of all, I didn't start comedy till I was 50. My father had one foot in the grave. But he never would have approved of me doing comedy. He was very straight-laced, accountant, business-like. And you've got the opposite there. You've got a supporting father who's doing it himself and who's made all the mistakes out there. And he's way up on the learning curve, and he's able to give you all of that, the benefit of his knowledge. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, it is great. I have the only father in the world that was like, "You sure you're gonna go to business school? You want to try being a comedian?"
McLean, what are you doing? Are you trying to be a comedian and maybe going to business school? What are you up to?
I'm going to school now. I'm studying to be a psychologist.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know, it's terrible.
Well, I actually
I'm
completed
trying to figure out why no one laughs at my jokes.
I actually completed my PhD coursework in industrial psychology, although I ended up taking a master's and leaving. But all my friends were in clinical. I thought they were.
I had a BS in psychology. That's where I started. I worked with schizophrenics, which is why Doug and I get along so well.
And what's his name?
Who's his name?
This
I
is supposed to be an
forget his
intervention, guys. You guys are supposed to talk him out of it. I was supposed to have him come on the show, and I was going to show him what happens when 2 guys start a podcast and don't go to college.
Chip, had you fallen into a well while we were talking here?
No, I think
He
he's
constantly
speaking
falls
from
into
Yankee
wells.
Stadium.
You don't know how often I'm pulling him out of wells.
You know what? You know what it was? He put it on. He put his phone on a speaker, and he's in the bathroom. That's why we heard that echoing. He's in a
okay.
jacuzzi
He's incredibly
now.
confused.
You don't have the dog in there with you, do you?
Well, you know, they say you make it when your house isn't big enough to stop the echo between two of the same people on the same podcast.
Is that what's going on, McLean? You're young. You would know technologically why your dad sounded like he was in an amphitheater, but
Yeah, I think that's it.
Well, now can you hear me? Is that better?
yeah, we love it. You sound like you're like an announcer for a boxing.
Were you on that shuttle to Mars?
I don't know what's going on here.
Well, all I know is you should change your last name to Ahoy.
Oh, okay. Well, should I be on speaker?
No, you
Probably
shouldn't be on
not.
speaker.
Are you?
I told you that before.
Yeah, he
It's very
told you
hard
that
for
before,
these,
Chip.
for
Of
these
course he was going to
60,
tell you that.
70-somethings to figure out the phones.
All right, so should we replug the show again?
Yeah, listen. You know what? We're gonna.
Saturday night
Let him talk. Oh. What was that, Chip?
at the Comedy at the Bike this Saturday night. Rob Falcone, Big G, Jackie Byrne, and me in a well.
And Chip in the well. It puts the lotion on or it gets the hose.
Oh no. I get that reference. Okay, so McLean, back to you. Clinical psychology, is this or do we?
I'm going actually social psychology.
Social?
Okay.
So yeah, so like more big picture, why groups of people do the things they do. That's what most interests me.
I studied sociology. I took many classes doing that.
So did I.
Yeah, they're pretty much the same thing.
They say that about math and physics too. They're where the borders, where they switch over. It's very hard to see. Okay, so now
Yeah,
I
they
guess
say it about
everybody can
apathy
see
and
our
comedy,
poster.
too.
About what? Apathy and comedy?
Apathy and comedy.
I don't know.
I'm afraid to talk.
That's funny. That's so funny. Yeah.
So,
Sorry,
So-
we're getting a delay.
Chip, you've been doing comedy for 17 years, is that right?
Actually, 22.
Oh, 22 years. Wow.
Yeah, it's 17 in dog years because I wanted to put it to a language that Doug can relate to.
Yeah, I knew that was coming. Thank you.
No, I actually started in 1996.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where was your first show? Bring us
I was
back.
33 like Jesus.
Okay. Bring us back. Where were you? What was your opening
Where was
line?
that?
Yeah, you
I was
remember your
at Stand
opening?
Up New York.
Stand Up New York?
Yeah, Stand Up New York, and I did a 7-minute set. It was surreal. On the show with me was a guy named Bobby Tisdale, who's now a writer for Fallon,
Oh.
and who else was on those shows that I met? John Viner, who was a writer for Family Guy.
Nice.
So as you can see, there's a theme there. Everyone moved on but me.
So how did you open your set? You remember?
Trying to think. I think I opened with a fat joke because I was about 285 pounds.
Wow.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you were hefty.
Yeah, so I opened with a fat joke, and I closed with dessert. But yeah, it was. I got off stage, and Tim Davis from Stand Up New York came to me and said, "Hey, that was pretty good. You want to come back?" And I'm like, "Where's the scam? Is he going to ask me for money? Is he going to ask me to take classes?" And he helped me out. And he introduced me to people to write for.
Nice.
And I started working at Stand Up New York all the time. And the rest is just keep going back and performing, and eventually I ended up on Funny Talk.
Who'd have thunk?
So we should do that, Tom. We should go to Stand Up New York. And
We're
start
already on
performing.
Funny Talk.
Oh, that's true. Well, that saved us a lot
You
of
guys
trouble.
skipped a bunch of steps. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like that. So, McLean, have you found an opening that you're happy with consistently?
I switch up my opening more than I switch up anything else in my set, actually. I find that the opening, I like to switch it up for every single crowd, which is really not practical because I mostly write it like 5 minutes before the set.
Right.
But yeah, I like to switch up the opening. That's where I try out my newer stuff.
Okay.
So one of the things that I learned is you lead with your first or your second funniest, and you close with your first or second funniest, whatever's left. Something like that.
What do you
Well, I
leave
don't know
the
who
sound
the
of?
teacher is because he never taught me that.
I also learned try to get a laugh within the first, 15 seconds. So I've got it down to about 5 seconds now.
What's your opening now, Doug?
I say, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to record, and I put my phone down on a table in front of me or on the floor, and I say, I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to record myself in case I say something funny tonight. And I always get a laugh.
No, really, what's your opening?
I know, it's funny. It's, it shows you how important delivery is, because I consistently get a laugh from that. But then they're quiet for me, thank God, for the rest of my act.
And if Doug doesn't deliver within 30 minutes, you get the show for free.
Yeah.
I remember my opening used to be in the early 90s, because like I said, I was about 280. I had a beard, and I would get up, and my opening line was, I know what you're thinking. Where's the other two tenors? And that was my line.
That's funny.
Yeah.
And if Doug didn't
And then it would
know,
go right downhill from there.
what's that?
And then it would go downhill from there.
Anyway, McLean, how long have you been doing stand-up now?
I've been doing stand-up for almost a year, a little bit short of a year. I think I took the March class of last year.
And that's at
So,
Scotty's
yeah, so-
Comedy Cove.
Yeah, Scotty's Comedy Cove, yep.
Yeah, and that was our March class. Our promo was in like a lion, out like someone who doesn't have a job.
It's
The
a
tagline
hard
that gets them.
it's a hard place to be a comedian, and I see it all over. A lot of really wonderful comics. You're just competing with so many thousands of comics around here, and there's and there's so many non-comedy dedicated venues: the restaurants, the bars, the bar restaurants, the restaurant bars, the coffee shops. Where else? I've been at a winery. I'm going to be doing a winery this coming Saturday, as a matter of fact.
I once did not once, several times, a haunted vape shop.
I did the show there. I went there, and
Yeah,
and there
no
was
lie.
nobody there
No lie.
the night I drove in Franklin.
What's
Yeah,
the worst
Franklin.
venue you ever did?
I did that. I did a Brazilian steakhouse.
You were going to
I think
say
it's
a
a Brazilian wax.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I thought I'd have to get waxed for the show. I panicked. I'm Italian. And I've done a
Not
couple
comedy,
of
but I
What?
also do music, and once I had to perform rap at a cancer benefit.
Holy shit.
That was not. Yeah, that didn't go well, and it was an outdoor
Wait, this
thing.
was a
and we were
comedy-
on bleachers in
a
front of
comedy
a bunch of
rap?
Boy Scouts. Didn't go well.
A comedy
Wow.
rap at a cancer benefit?
No, just rap. You know I have a rap
No,
name?
just a regular rap.
Did you know I have a rap name?
What is it?
Fatty Wop.
Well,
If you
I
didn't.
had
Yeah.
I had to perform at an A&W root beer in Garfield. Is it still there?
I don't know.
Did
My
you
friend
wear?
my friend Davin booked that. So you're trying to do your act, Well, some kid is complaining about his fries, and then he wants a float. He's crying to his mom.
Yikes.
Were you wearing roller skates?
No, those are the days. Yeah, but there's some crappy places you have to perform comedy when you start out.
Oh, yeah.
Doug, what was the worst place you ever performed?
Honestly, it was a place. It wasn't a performance. It was my first non-comedy class comedy was an open mic at a horrible place. I liken it to what was the place called? A place of scum and villainy from Star Wars.
What?
McLean will know the town. Anyway, it was called the Blaze.
The Blaze.
Mos Eisley.
Los Eisley, a greater hive of scum and villainy you'll never find, or something like that. Anyway, the first time I went there, nobody laughed. Nobody. They were talking. They were really rude. And the second time I went there, like an idiot, I went back, and I'm driving home and I realized they were quiet. They didn't laugh, but they were quiet. And I thought, wow, I've become a much better comic because they went from
They were at least listening to you.
quiet. Yeah.
That was actually not a bad open mic. Some open mics are brutal. Oh my God! There are no people other than comics. None of them are paying attention. They're all looking in their notebooks, and not one smile on the whole bunch. I really despise open mics.
If they're all comic open
Yeah, I
mics.
agree.
Yep.
I like
Comics
showcases.
are angry people.
Showcases are great.
And I'm going to be performing. I know it's the same night you've got a show, Chip. I'm sorry, but I'm going to be performing at Make Wine With Us in Wallington, New Jersey, this Saturday. And one of the things I love about that is all the people they love wine, so they're warmed up. Mm-hmm. You know.
And this Thursday, I'm going to be at the Sage Coffee House in Jackson, New Jersey. This Thursday, 7:00. And
Wow, you guys are busy. I have a question, Doug. Do you go better with red or white?
I didn't hear you.
Do I go better with red or white?
Oh,
I actually probably am right in between. More
he's
of
a
a rosé.
he's a rosé.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Rosé is like, I don't know what I am of the wine world.
Right.
You have to make a decision. You have to decide what you're going to be.
Well, it's always that. Honestly, as an existential question, has always been a struggle for me. The people that like my comedy there's something wrong with them, and they're far and few between. You understand?
Wow, we've really grown in this podcast. We went from masturbating dogs to an existential question.
There are no limits to our stupidity on Funny Talk.
Last show we were talking about Siddhartha by Herman Hesse with Julia Scotti.
Yes.
Yeah,
I love Julia. She's such a great person.
she is.
Julia's great for podcasts too. She just keeps the thing rolling. But you have a
Okay.
podcast too, don't you, Chip?
Well, McLean and I used to do a podcast called The Basement Chronicles.
Right.
Yeah, back
Yeah,
in
he
the
was
day.
14.
Wow. I don't even remember 14.
That was a rough experience to explain at school.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Basement Chronicles was great, but when we all went to high school, we got laptops, and people looked up my name, and then they would play the Basement Chronicles. And there's nothing cooler than doing a podcast with your dad
In the basement.
in a basement. That really helped.
I love my dad. Stop picking on me. But I kind of get that.
What?
I was going to say
That's you.
I'm speaking in an echo.
We're hearing echoes here.
I had a cat named Echo. I had to tell her everything twice.
It's that damn well.
Okay.
So anyway, McLean, I was saying I used to take my son skateboarding, and we'd go to these dicey urban spots where my son is trying to be all hip and cool and a skateboardy, and dad is there, old dad is there parked looking, and he'd have to like come over and like talk to me so that they'd know I was associated with him and not just some like weird old guy watching teenage boys skateboard. So
That's an image I can't get out of my head.
well, I loved watching my son do what he loved doing. So Chip, do you enjoy watching McLean enjoy doing stand-up?
Yeah, I love to watch him do stand-up. It's kind of great to perform with your son.
Evidently, it's horrible the other way around. I'm kidding.
Oh, yeah, and you guys having a private conversation? I think it's better that I watch him do stand-up than you standing in a skate park watching teenagers skate.
Really?
The way you say it, it sounds bad.
He was wearing Vans. He was wearing Vans.
Right.
It's not good phrasing.
Right.
So, Chip, do you
And
remember?
while you're waiting,
Do you-
ask people if they can walk their dog.
Doug will forever be.
It's weird though to perform stand up in front of like people you know. We always have that discussion.
Uh-huh.
It's awful because then if you see them the next day and you had a terrible set, they're like, "Oh, that's him, the big failure."
Have you had a terrible set, McLean?
I have had one terrible set.
And what made it terrible?
That was just like,
What made it terrible?
gotta get out of here.
Was that you? What made it terrible?
Well, when I got up on stage, before I even said anything, I was heckled.
Nice.
So that started off the whole thing on a bad foot. And then I have a lead up into a Trump joke that isn't even political. And when I began the lead up, like half of the crowd started chanting Trump 2020.
Wow. Yeah, there's no.
So that didn't play.
Yeah.
You ever figure out what you might have done to avert that catastrophe?
I don't know. I think probably have more than 5 minutes of material would have been good.
That always helps.
Well, listen, 5 minutes of good material is good. You know, you start there and then you go to 6. And
He said
7
material, not good material.
Yeah.
Speaking
Yeah,
of,
it wasn't dynamite stuff that night.
so Chip, do you remember the first road gig we went on together?
Yeah, we went to Polka Nuts.
Polka Nuts, right?
And,
It was me,
and,
you, and DeMeo. Mark DeMeo.
me, you, and Mark DeMeo. And I remember we went, and I think you were getting $50. And we were eating dinner, and you said, oh, I don't know if I have the money for dinner. And I said, I got it. And you're getting paid. And so you're like, oh, okay, fine. And then you went up and did great. It was your first MC.
Chip,
Yep.
you're echoing again. Or if you're on speaker, go off of it. Or
I'm not on
He's
speaker.
very
I don't know what's going on.
He's very confused and his phone is very old. It's rough to watch.
I don't know why this isn't working.
Jack
He has the phone
Hoffman mentioned
Like he's never held a phone.
Jack Hoffman mentioned on our Facebook feed. Chip sounds like he's introducing Mantle at the stadium.
now batting number 7. 7.
So
Don't
It's
hold
good,
it so close and
but
don't
it-
hold it so far and don't put it on speaker. Like you're talking into the phone. Remember how you talk into the phone to people? That's how you should hold it.
This is
Chip,
the way
I
I'm
think
holding. Do I sound better now?
I think you should use this effect when you do a comedy class. It will make people feel like they're in a big place. You know.
Yeah.
or an
I
empty
think
place.
I should just I am the rest of my comments.
So Chip, when is the next comedy class at Scotty's?
Well, we have our class show on December 11th and December 12th, 2 classes. And then our next class will start on January 9th.
Okay.
So if you're interested in taking the class, just contact Scotty's Comedy Club at scottys.com.
And you said January 9th or January 11th?
January 9th.
January 9th. Okay.
Which is a Wednesday night.
Wednesday, and they're all Wednesday night classes.
Yeah, for the most part, they're all Wednesday night times.
And then the guarantee is if 7 years later you're still not funny, you get all the money from your class back.
Doug and I are still waiting.
The check should be in the mail, Doug.
I think I should get a few of them.
Doug, you're funny. Come on, I've seen you. I've seen you
I
do
know.
very well in my room.
I know.
He's funny, but looks aren't everything.
But bum. Yeah. So, what else do we want to talk about? Anybody want to talk about anything in particular?
I want to talk about time travel.
Okay.
How about let's
But
talk
wait a
about
minute, we don't have
Hold
time
on.
for that.
ridiculous stuff that happens to comics now.
Say again?
Did you guys see the thing about Peanuts and Franklin sitting on the other end of the table and people protesting on Twitter?
No.
So what happened is Snoopy, Charlie Brown, and Sally are sitting on one end of the Thanksgiving table,
Okay.
and then I think Peppermint Patty's at the head, and Marcy's at the other side, and then Franklin is sitting by himself, which was a sign that he was being ostracized because he was African American.
Right. I did see that now that you mentioned it. That's
And
pre-
so that just goes to me, you can't say anything, do anything nowadays. I don't know. I mean, like, I don't find that offensive.
yeah.
But then again, I'm not Franklin.
I mean, if you look at the picture, it does look weird. Like, I'm no author, I'm no illustrator, but it does look weird. It looks uneven.
When it's pointed out to you, it's kind of obvious, and yeah, it could be racist, but most people wouldn't even notice it. I don't think. I wouldn't.
I think that there should be a fine line. I think that we should appreciate things for the time that they're made in, and instead of boycotting them for their flaws, understanding their flaws and learning from them.
Yeah.
But-
Let's build a wall. I think we should build the million walls. I think everybody should have their own personal wall. That'll solve all the problems.
You know, I found it interesting that in New Jersey there's a town called Wall, which is next to Brick. Just an
This is the kind
observation.
of stuff people tune in for.
They're having a
Yeah.
Pink Floyd concert there.
Chip, Tom took 2 classes with you, and he just said that. Do you have any shame? Do you feel any?
No.
Do you feel any complicity?
Actually, I think I took 3 classes with Chip.
3 classes, and he said brick is next to wall. Never mind.
Well, I'm just impressed you used the word complicity.
If I spelled it, that would really be impressive.
So, when was the last, did we ever do a show together, all 3 of us?
The reunion show, the graduation show. You were hosting it, I think.
Right.
No,
Were you in the
Yeah.
competition? Did I beat you
No,
in
I
the
don't think we ever
competition?
did the show all together, all 3 of us together.
I don't think so.
We
I
should
think
do
it's
it.
about time.
Yeah, this certainly doesn't count.
Let's go on the road because this isn't working.
Is Poconuts? Is Poconuts still?
No, we close that mother down.
You know what? We'll just meet for lunch somewhere at a bar and start doing stand up. How about that?
Look, if you're going to start threatening me, I'm going to sign off.
All right. Actually, it's 10:27.
I know we're getting up to it. Hey, McLean, you have any shows coming up you would like to pitch?
I have a show on Friday in Rockaway, in a barn in Rockaway.
Okay, I'm sure people will find that.
Yeah, wait, hold on. I have the plug. I'll find it. I'll
It's
get on my
okay.
email. I'll find the
The
plug.
hundreds of thousands
Like a
of our
good,
listeners
successful
will wait
comedian.
for you to find the place you're supposed to be at Friday.
The Rockaway River Barn.
Rockaway.
Friday, and I'll be performing with my loving father.
Oh, cool.
And what about Chip? Will he be there?
You mean your biological father?
Well,
I will also be on Thursday night. I will be doing the IABC corporate Christmas party.
Oh,
I guess holiday party for you people in HR.
okay.
And then Friday, I'm with McLean. Saturday, we have the show at Comedy at the Bike.
Right.
Rob Falcone, Rated G, Jackie Byrne. Just go on to Bicycle Club, 120118. Roundpapertickets.com for tickets. And I will not be on that show, but I will be in Andover with Tommy Gucci. So, and I'll be trying to get myself out of this hole.
also, I believe in the next week, I believe you and McLean will be spending some time on phone operation.
Yeah, we're gonna work hard on phone operation.
Guys, could it possibly be us that's
everything.
messing up him? You're sure it's him?
Yeah, because the other one sounds great.
What do you think? What do you think he's doing? He's old, so he might not know how to use a phone properly.
He's extremely old, and he's just.
I'm
we're
older
just
than
gonna
him,
let
McLean.
do
Be
his thing
careful.
from now on.
You be careful, McLean.
Really, he's my
I'm
age.
older.
It's
Yeah.
like this is like buying collision on a really old car. We're just gonna let him do his thing.
What did he say about an old car?
He called you an old car. So anyway, before I forget, I'm going to be opening for Uncle Floyd.
Woohoo!
Yeah, the 14th and
Yay.
15th of December at Scotty's Comedy Cove. Come on down.
And to our Ethiopian listeners, if you've been thinking, you want to come, you want to be part of the Funny Talk with Mangeli and Max experience, if you're not familiar with Uncle Floyd, he's a New Jersey staple. He's a staple. He's a
legend.
He's a legend. He's very, very funny. My buddy Tom gets to perform with him. So come over from Ethiopia. If you have problems at the border, give him my name.
We have food vouchers. It's a 2-item minimum, though. So anyway,
Do we know, are you able to tell us how many Ethiopian listeners we have now, Doc? Can you tell us how many listeners from Ethiopia we have right now? Can you give us a breakdown by country?
could you cut Doug's mic?
McLean, so you know, our second biggest demographic is from Sweden. We get letters from the Swedish ladies all the time. So don't be surprised if they try to look you up on Facebook. Where would they find
that's
you?
good. Don't send them any money, Doug.
Yeah.
No, we send them tulip seeds. That's all. And then we get in return lovely tulips.
There aren't tulip seeds. They're tulip bulbs.
Well, how do you get Swedish women to listen to you?
How many Swedes does it take to change a tulip bulb?
A meatball.
Anyway, Chip, thanks for calling in. You've been a wonderful guest.
Thank you, guys.
What do you want to say, Doug?
I want to say you're closing up. We have 4 minutes.
We don't have 4 minutes.
It's going to feel like 20 now.
Oh, I'm reading the clock wrong. One of these days.
How do you read a digital clock wrong?
One of these days, I'll learn how to tell time. There's 14 clocks in here. None
What
of
did you do? Add an hour and subtract 55?
No, there's 2 clocks and they have 2 different times on them.
They do. And neither of the time is correct.
I would, yeah.
Because I set my watch daily to atomic time.
See, Hamilton Radio happens to be in 14 different time zones at the same time.
It's a huge studio. People don't realize. The one time I was down
14
in...
different time zones, and this mic sucks in all of them.
Oh my God. Chip, you sound like you're in a stadium.
Anyway,
I don't know what's going on.
Well,
You've got speaker set on your phone or something.
I guess so.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
anyway, I mentioned before that I love time travel. I'm fascinated by anything to do with time travel, and I have been ever since next February.
Closing with a joke.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah, now we've got to close with like 5 more of those, though. So, McLean, you asked my opening line. I have another opening line.
How about the closing line? How about your closing line since we're ending? What's your next closing line?
The last 2 times I've said, the audience has said awe.
What?
They've said awe.
Yeah.
I don't get a laugh at the end. I get an awe.
Oh.
But then I get a little laugh.
Okay.
I tell them if they knew how long I'd been without sex, they all would have awed me. That's
Bless you.
I actually closed with my shirt joke. I took off my shirt, she took off her shirt, I took off my pants, she took off her pants, I took off my underwear, she took off.
Wow.
That's funny.
I learned that from, I took a great
How
comedy
many more minutes
class.
are left?
My closing line is, look for me next weekend at the Borgata in Atlantic City. I'll be at the buffet.
Wow. McLean?
My closing line, which makes no sense out of context, is they said when you started comedy, kid, this will take balls. I'm here to tell you that it only takes one.
But
Well, why don't you tell the story behind that?
we
We only
have
have 4
3
minutes,
minutes.
but I'll rev through it.
Yeah.
So 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with testicular cancer, and like most people who have testicular cancer, I lost one of my testicles, which is great. I love sharing all this deep information on this show. And I talk a lot about in my bit how you lose a lot of sympathy that you would typically get from cancer because it's cancer of the balls.
Aw.
Now, do you get a lot of Lance Armstrong jokes?
I actually, the day I told a couple of my close friends, they sent me, Seth Green had testicular cancer, I think.
That must have made you feel
Seth
better.
Green or Tom, or someone.
Tom Green.
Tom Green.
Oh, Tom Green, yeah.
And to this day, there's one friend who still hasn't been like, oh man, is there anything I can do for you? He just makes fun of me for the one ball. But that's cool, we're very close.
So, are you familiar with the importance of being earnest?
I'm not.
Well, you should read it.
Neither are our viewers.
It's a comedy of manners, but there was a line in it that I'm reminded of. She said, "To lose one testicle is a misfortune, but to lose 2 is carelessness." She didn't really say that. It was about
Alrighty then. Okay.
Very nice closing line, Don.
We've got to have
That's
literature
a good line,
references, you know. Yeah, pick up the
Yeah.
class of the show a little bit.
Uh-huh. So anywho,
Big words like complicity, kafifi.
Well, save them for next week.
yeah.
And let's remind people about the show at the Bike on Saturday night. And we
Saturday.
need you to come out, try to build this room. It's Dave Irwin Productions, and it's only $20 per person. If you go on the bicycle, 120118, roundpapertickets.com, and put in promo code CHIP, you can get half-price tickets.
Or come to either Tom or my Facebook page and you'll see flyers for the shows. You'll be able to find it easily that way as well.
But if
And
you
you
can,
don't. Oh, and you don't have to come to my show Saturday night. Go to Chips. It'll be a better show.
You're sweet.
Yeah.
but that is a fun-packed show, and I recommend everybody go if they can. And that's in Fort Lee, right, Chip?
Actually, Inglewood Cliffs, but close to Fort Lee.
Oh, okay.
Couldn't tell him to go to my show.
Right on 9W.
I told him to go to his show. You should tell him to go to my show.
So anyway, this
And you
is
guys go to Doug's show.
Okay, well, we're going to work this out afterwards.
my name is Tom Mongelli.
I'm Doug Max.
You've been watching Funny Talk with Mongelli and Max,
and listening to
Chip Ambrosio, and McLean Ambrosio.
That's it. Guys, it's been a
Thank you,
pleasure.
guys.
Thank you guys.
Thanks again. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Take care. And we're out.
Why was my phone like that? You're saying it's me, but I'm talking just the way you are into my phone. Yeah, there are a couple reasons. One, my microphone.
What's wrong with you, McLean? Be sensitive.